Hi guys and welcome back. Right, in this part 3 video we're going to go through some more basic steps on the final part, which is going to be the actual spraying of this Peugeot 206 and the blending of the base coat and the blending of the clear. So we're going to start off, we're now fully masked, we've got everything cleaned down pretty well, and we're going to get round to the stage now where we're going to panel wipe and tack rag, which is a stage that a lot of people have asked me that they want to see. I hope you guys have enjoyed so far, and I want to try and get it more to what you guys want to see rather than just what I'm doing. So panel wipe wise, I get 2 pieces of tissue, one with your panel wipe on and one is just a dry piece, because with panel wipe you should always wipe on and wipe off. If you just wipe on and wipe around the panel, and the problem is that that panel wipe, whatever's wet on that panel or the oil or the greases or whatever, all you're doing is you're moving it around, you're not actually taking it back off. So you have to make sure that when you panel wipe like this, then you go over it with the dry one afterwards and take the panel wipe back off again. It is a big, it seems like a silly thing, um, but it is quite an important step. And sometimes even the panel wipe itself can leave a bit of a residue, and when you start putting the base coat on, and you'll see problems in your panel wipe straight away, which, the more you can cut out the problems, the better your job's going to turn out. So that really is as much as I can show you about panel wiping. So yeah, I've got my little blower, and what we're going to do now is we've just got a standard Star Chem tack rag, and I'm going to open it out, and we're going to tack rag off, and as we're tack ragging off, we're going to be blowing the air over the panel to make sure that anything that's on the panel and around the tack rag, etc., is getting blown off, and we're getting all the last little tiny bits of dust off with this. Now, before I finished the masking, which was quite simple, it was just putting the sheet over the car and the last bit of soft foaming. Before I did that, I always give the panel a wipe down and a good blow off with the high pressure air, just to make sure it is spot on and it's clean before we start. So on the blend section here, all I'm doing is the same really as what I did on the primer stage in part 2, but I'm just doing it with tape. I'm just taking a little piece of tape, 2-inch this is, and I'm sticking one half down, folding it back over, and then just creating that small air pocket for the blend line. Right, so here we have it. This is one of my favourite guns in the shop. It's the Devilbiss FLG 5. It's got 1.4 setup in it. It's the same gun that we use to prime it. Well, I say the same, it's the same gun, but this is actually a new one that I've got because I have 2 now. And this is what we're going to be using for base coating up. I'll start off with here. My plan with my base coat when I first start off, get the hard to reach areas, make sure you've got under your arch, around your door edges and around your trims, make sure you've got a nice coat of colour on them, and give all your repair a nice, I'd say 3/4 coat of base coat. Don't want to go too wet, because on the first coat I always put it down, shall we say, in a safe way, so that we can see if anything's going to start giving us any aggro, or anything's going to start peeling, or anything's going to react anywhere. So that is as easy as it is for coat number 1. We've let that dry down now and tack off. Coat number 2, as far as this goes, is going to be pretty much the same thing. We're going to make sure we get all these edges, and now we're going to go for a heavier coat, because now what we want to do is get all this repaired section coloured up before we get round to the point where it's coloured and we want to blend. So it's just the same again. I think on this you're running about 20 to 25 psi, full fan, and gauge your fluid so it's going on as wet as you want it to go on. I don't really count my fluid turns, apart from on my clear. I just, for base coat, turn it to how it feels right for me at the time when I'm spraying it. And that's your coat number 2. Here we have now, we're going to go for the 3rd coat. Now what I'm going to do here is, because that is pretty much coloured up now, so we're going to put more of a drop coat on. I've just tweaked the pressure up a tiny little bit, and I put a little tiny bit more fluid coming out, and I'm going to go a little bit further away. So as you will see here in a second, I'm going to slow this video down after we've just coated over the repair again, just so you can see the little flick on the blending technique. So here we are now. So as I come out to the end, you'll see when I get towards the end of the stroke, I flip the gun out at the end. Now that will just help that paint land evenly in a blended line through the panel. Well, not so much a line, it'll more dust out across the panel, so that past the area that you've fully covered, that's going to leave a nice blend line. And what I will do here now is I've left this just on this coat, and all I'll do is do another pass, the same in a minute when that's dried, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to cut to the clear now. So for the clear, we're using the same gun again, the FLG 5, same tip setup in the 1.4, full fan again. I think I've got it at about 25 psi roughly, and I can't quite say how many fluid turns. When you start that first coat of lacquer, you want to make sure you don't hit your blend line. You want to keep well back from where you've masked up your blend lines. So all you want here really is a nice sealed coat for your first coat. You don't want it on too wet because it's going to run. So you want a nice closed coat over the whole panel and over all that fresh base coat. And then we're going to give this, I'd say with the clear that we're using, we're going to give this around 10-12 minutes flash off time, and then we're going to come back to it, and then we're going to put a heavier, wetter coat on. And all being well, all the prep being done well, and everything going to plan, when we finish this then, we should be able to just mop the blends and send this car out, as long as we haven't got too much dust or anything in it. Right, this is coat number 2 here. So all we're doing, exactly the same again, but we're going to go a little bit wetter. So you can either slow down a bit, or you can turn your fluid out a bit more, or you can get a bit closer in. It's entirely up to you how you do it. Practice makes perfect on this. Even if you go and buy yourself a cheap second-hand panel from a scrapyard, you know, you can even pick up a brand new wing for about £15. You know, if you're a novice guy and you want to have a play, go and get yourself a wing or a bonnet or something, stick a dent in it, fill it, play around with your filler, play around with your primers, play around with your lacquers and your base coats, and get a feel for the materials that you're using. Because I've found the better that you know your materials and you know their limits, the better you will learn how to use them. So as you can see, this second coat is going on really nice and wet. All I did was turn the dial an extra touch, so I had a bit more fluid coming out. And like I said, when you finish up, don't go too far, because you'll see in a second what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the little minigun that you saw me do the review of, which would be the Graco Finex, and I've just put a tiny little bit of blending thinners in it, and then we're going to blend, we're going to use a bit of that on the sill area, and we're going to use a bit of that on the top area as well. So here it is. One thing I will say with this stuff is do not put this on too wet. If you put it on too wet, it's going to make everything run straight away. So put a nice light dusting of it over, and then use a bit of air, just pull the trigger in enough for the air to flow, and let the air do the work itself. And you'll see it melt new into old, and it'll leave you a nice blend. Right guys, so that's it for part 3 on this video. I hope you've enjoyed these 3 parts. This is what I was asked for by you guys to do. If you want to see something that I haven't included in this video or the Subaru video, if there's anything extra you want, or there's anything you want me to change, drop it in the comments, message us on Instagram and let us know. And if you like the videos guys, please give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. I'll have a work out what I've got on, and we'll get some more videos coming up in the next week. Thanks guys.